All eyes on the election in Iran.
We saw those Iranian elections yesterday. Great deal of protests in the streets.
Angry reaction in Tehran to the proclaimed re-election of Iranian President Ahmadinejad.
Just a short time ago, Ahmadinejad spoke to reporters. He said the election was fair and free, despite accusations of vote fraud.
It was an exceptionally defiant opening statement. He basically claimed complete and total victory, saying that there was no question about the result. We know that several 7 to 10 opposition leaders, officials, activists have been arrested, and more arrests may come. He referred to traffic light infractions, and anybody who speeds and goes past a red light will be fined, and he seemed to imply that the opposition had broken the law and were being fined or punished right now.
The arrest of opposition leaders for traffic violations probably tells more about the story than anything else that's being reported.
Is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad the winner of this election as you see it?
Well, you know, we don't have all the details. It sure looks like the way they're suppressing speech, the way they're suppressing crowds, the way in which people are being treated, that there's some real doubt about that. I don't think we're in a position to say. It was surprising that the assertion was he won by, what, 60-some% of the vote. And so I think we have to wait and see, but it didn't seem on its face to be as clear-cut. For example, 70% of the vote comes out of the city. That's not Ahmadinejad's strong place. The idea he could get, 68 or whatever % of the vote, and in a circumstance like that seems unlikely.
You sound like you have doubts.
I have doubts, but we're going to withhold comment until we have a thorough review of the whole process and how they reacted in the aftermath.
They know these numbers don't add up. I mean, I think that's the strongest message this morning. Joe Biden suggested this morning the numbers just don't add up in Iran.
We have to see what the results were. We have to have an analysis of it, and that'll be being done by not just us, by every country in the world, and we can make a better judgment then.
You don't want to recognize him as the president of Iran at this stage?
Well, I'm not. Look, that's what they're announcing. We have to accept that for the time being. But there's an awful lot of question about how this election was run, and we'll see. I mean, we're just waiting to see. We don't have enough facts to make a firm judgment.
If Ahmadinejad claims victory and the White House believes there are irregularities, does that diminish the reasons and the moral standing of Mr. Ahmadinejad to the point where you think dialogue should be lessened?
I don't think any of us know at this moment. If he won in a legitimate election, that's one thing. If it was filled with fraud, as is now alleged, that's quite another thing.
The comments by the president last week that there was a robust debate going on in Iran was obviously entirely wrong-headed. The election is a fraud. The results are inaccurate.
What happens now in U.S. relations?
First and foremost, we need to take a half step back from this administration's olive branch and apology approach to enemies and countries that have been hostile to the United States of America and our allies, particularly with regard to Iran.
It's very clear that the president's policies of going around the world and apologizing for America aren't working. Just sweet talk and criticizing America is not going to enhance freedom in the world.
This administration went out of its way. The president sent a message directly to the Iranian people. The president made the speech in Cairo, reframing the relationship with the Muslim world. And yet this is the response from the Iranian people, or is it? Do you think Iran is a democracy?
No, that's the question. Is this the response? Is this the accurate response we're getting? Is this the result of the Iranian people's wishes? The hope is that the Iranian people, all their votes have been counted. They've been counted fairly. But look, we just don't know enough, David. It's been less than 24 hours since the polls have closed.
The law of unintended consequences came in again. I suspect that Cairo speech really scared the Grand Ayatollahs in Iran. If they were going to fix an election, this was the time to fix it, because the last thing they wanted to do was Barack Obama take credit for reformers winning in Iran like they already have in Lebanon. In the short term, that's bad news for us. I think in the long term, though, if the Ayatollahs are seen stealing an election as a result from what Barack Obama did in Cairo, I actually think that's a positive for the United States and Iran in the long run.